No, she's just the lady that checks us out.
Betty Lou is in it for a grade. You see, when you work for Washburn like Betty Lou Purdue does, you get a free class.
Oh, is that right? Can we stand this morning? We have quite a few guests this morning, and I'd ask Randy Peterson from Stormont Vale to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the May 19th, 2014 meeting of the Shawnee County Board of Commissioners. My name is Bob Archer. I currently serve as chair of the commission and represent District 2. Alongside me is Kevin Cook, who represents District 2, and Commissioner Shelley Bueller, who represents District 1. Good morning.
Good morning.
First item, please.
First item is item 3, consent agenda.
Are there questions or comments on the consent agenda?
I do have a comment, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Certainly.
On item number 2, I think it's significant to note that we are still, even after 2+ years, still receiving the deeds to Parks properties. So while we may think the consolidation of being something done, it's still in progress. I see Mr. Eckert.
Number 2, I don't want to cast any aspersions
No.
because this involved heavy federal regulations from the Veteran Administration
Right.
and the National Park Service, and the person who from the federal side is in charge of that from Boston. He does an excellent job. He listens to our meetings and reads all of us about this transfer every day. He knows exactly what's going on.
Right.
And there's hoops you have to jump through, and they're necessary, but this one had some hoops, and we just completed getting through them.
Right, absolutely. And I don't mean to cast any, this is not to cast any aspersions, it's just to say we think of it as being a done process, but it is still a process that is still ongoing.
And even though I was here at the start of this, the number of entanglements, and maybe that's too strong of a word, but other outside considerations, we did not have a feel for how many there were. And here's an example of one with heavy federal involvement. So there's more to come still, too.
Yes.
Maybe entanglements isn't strong enough. Commissioner Bueller.
Well, the complexity of transferring federal parkland, it is not simple. And so, yes, I would agree with Rich. There are still many items or parcels that are being transferred. And I know Jim Crowell, who listens to these meetings as well, he's diligently working on that. So,
Very good. Thank you.
move approval of the consent agenda.
I will second.
Motion made by Commissioner Bueller to approve the consent agenda as presented, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item 4, new business A, county clerk. Number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Mr. Chairman, this morning we have vouchers that total $1,352,602.94. I think that it is significant to note that of that, 7 expenditures make up $1,207,068. Those being the vehicles for the community corrections, repairs to the Department of Corrections for their roof ACs, holding accounts Blue Cross Blue Shield, a grant to Kansas Children's Service League, our workers' compensation payment, and payments to waste management through Public Works. So leaving only $145,534 after those 7 expenditures, and I think that's significant. And I would move for approval.
Second.
Motion made to approve the vouchers as presented by Commissioner Cook and seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
I'll make a motion to approve the correction orders as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Bueller to approve the correction orders. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item B, elections. Number 1, consider approval of request to award bid for election equipment delivery to Kansas to Kansas Van and Storage at an estimated cost of $21,775 for the 2014-2015 election cycle.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Andrew Howell, Shawnee County Election Commissioner. As you know, we went out to bid for some election equipment delivery. That's the voting boxes that hold the ballots. Also, what we put in here that is not normally in this bid is the delivery of the, pardon me, the delivery of our disability ramps. So that is also included. So it's slightly higher this year because we did decide to go ahead and bid that piece out as well. So very similar. These are local folks that we're used, vendors that we're used to working with. We're happy with the service they provide, and we feel like it's a fair price. So we would ask your approval.
Questions or comments for Mr. Howell?
I don't have any, but I would move for approval of the acceptance of the bid for the election equipment delivery.
I will second and note that it was the only bid, correct?
Correct.
Okay, second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Cook and seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item B2, consider approval of request to award bid for printing of election ballots to Mainline Printing at an estimated cost of $85,000 for the 2014-2015 election cycle.
This, we actually had 2 bidders for this. We're recommending that Mainline Printing, local printer, be accepted. We feel like they're do excellent work, and their price is very similar to actually last year's price. So slightly higher, but very close, and significantly lower than the other bidder also. So again, very, very happy with them and the service they provide. So we recommend your acceptance of that.
Questions or comments?
I have no questions. Move to award the bid to Mainline Printing.
I'm going to second, but I just do have a question. I noticed the price is $85,000, Andrew. Are we printing up ballots that are more ballots than we would actually need, given that we know the rate of people that were going to show up?
Well, you know, as I mentioned to you in last year's budget discussions, I was concerned about ballots. And the reason we're always a little bit concerned about exactly what that cost would be is there are so many different factors that go into trying to come up with that number. Things that we have no control over, such as will it be an extra long ballot? How many will there be? How many elections will they show up in? Those are things that we simply don't know. We're also going to be changing a few polling places, not necessarily by our choice, but because some people just can't have us there due to construction and other events that occur. So those numbers are going to fluctuate. The types of question, lengths of ballots, again, we won't know that until we get closer to. We know that we do have a question that is coming on the ballot, constitutional question, I believe, Mark, that from the legislature. So that's already going to be showing up on a ballot. So there's a lot of, I guess I'm hedging a little bit in answering your question. Just a lot of unknowns, and so it's our best guess, but it could end up different than that.
And I guess my question, I probably didn't ask it the best way. If you have 100,000 potential voters and you know that only 30,000 routinely show up, do you print ballots for all 100,000 for maximum amount of voters?
I worry that we have enough ballots because, you know, if you only have, say, 100,000 voters, if you don't print close to the full amount, it's very difficult to project how many voters are going to show up in an election. You don't know when a discussion in the newspaper, a discussion among the public, something could really become a big issue in a hurry. And by the time it becomes a big issue and you realize you should have put more ballots together, you really can't control, project, or predict that. So I tend to print close to 100% to allow for all the variations, just because the risk of not having ballots available on election day, should somebody request one, is pretty significant.
So while voter turnout, low to voter turnout may be an issue for concern of people participating, when people don't go to vote, they're also wasting tax dollars.
That would be one way to put it.
All right. I would second.
I have to think about that one for a little bit. Motion made to accept the bid by Commissioner Bueller and seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Andrew. Next item, please.
Item C, Parks and Recreation. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C-197-2014 with Durham School Services for bus transportation for the summer day camp programs at an estimated cost of $33,000.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Knight, Parks and Recreation. This is a service and a contract we've had in place since 2012. That contract allowed for us to review and renew this if both parties agreed. The reason kind of the timing of this is the way it is Randy and his staff have looked real hard at, is this one of the areas that we could reduce the services for our camp. It seems like a lot of kids take part in this service. It provides some very good service in getting kids to the camps. With that being said, Randy and his staff tried to adjust the fees to make sure that those were covered. That's just for the transportation to the camps. Each of the participants who participate in that pay an extra fee for that bus ride. But this also does, the $33,000 does also cover special events, special trips through the summer camps and some of those type of things. That being said, I'd be happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Questions or comments from Mr. Knight?
I have none. I move for approval.
Second.
Motion made to approve the contract by Commissioner Cook and seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Item D, Health Agency. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C-198-2014 with Starmont Vale Regional Health Center for record abstraction of the Fetal Infant Mortality Review Project.
Morning, Commissioners. Allison Alejos, Health Agency. This is a memorandum of agreement with Stormont Vale in order for us to be able to go and do record abstractions for our Fetal Infant Mortality Review Project. As you all are aware, back in February of 2013, we received a grant award from the Kansas Health Foundation and United Methodist Health Ministries, and they are enabling us to proceed with getting a femur started here in Shawnee County. And so we've been working over the past year to develop policies and procedures, receive our institutional review board approval so that we can actually do the project. And so now we're at the point where we're out there soliciting and seeking to get contracts in place with, or memorandum of agreements in place with different providers that have medical records that we may be interested in reviewing. And so this is the first of those, and I hope that you see many more coming in the near future.
Questions or comments about the contract? Then I'll make a motion to approve the contract as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer and seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Allison. Next item, please.
Item E, Commission. Number 1, consider approval of letter to the Community Health Center Governance Board regarding a new service model for the Community Health Center operations of the Shawnee County Health Agency.
Good morning, Commissioners. Alice Weingartner, Shawnee County Health Agency. I do want to introduce Bob Thorne, who is here. He is the chair of the Community Health Center Board. And we also have a number of other community partners who are here as well, who have been part of this study that has been done. And as noted in the letter, because you are a co-applicant model, meaning that both the Board of County Commissioners and the Community Health Center Governance Board jointly oversee the Community Health Center operations, it's necessary for the board, as the receiver of the 330 grant funding, notify the Community Health Center Board that you intend to look at operational change for the Community Health Center. And I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
Questions or comments? Or Alice?
You know, I think that while it looks like there's a lot of language that can be overwhelming if you're looking at it for the first time, I think that this is a fundamental document that really is going to cause us to rethink how we administer health care in Shawnee County and how we provide access to those that cannot have other means to health care. And so this is a pretty fundamental study and document. Wouldn't you agree, Alice?
I do, and I think the other thing is we know that healthcare is changing, and it has been changing, and it will continue to change. And I think this is going to give us an opportunity to work differently, to operate differently, to work with our community partners in different ways, and just develop a stronger system for the community overall. And I think that's the ultimate goal, is that we have the strongest and best system possible to meet the needs of those who are uninsured or underinsured or who have limited access to health care.
Commissioner.
Sure. I think we need to acknowledge the Sunflower Foundation. They convened all of the stakeholders. Is Billy here today? Alice, I know you're looking for her. Okay. There have been a number of us who've been delivering health care in Shawnee County. I see Carla back there, and for all of us to come around the same table and really work together to look to see how we can do this better, how we can deliver health care better in Shawnee County, and always keeping in mind, the people who receive that care, that we think that this might be a better model. And so the data shows that. We had the assistance of both hospitals, St. Francis and Stormont. And correct me if I'm wrong, Alice, but I don't know if there's been a time in the history of Shawnee County where all of us have come together and had discussion to really look and see what's best for our community going forward. And
Not during my time.
not
so.
during your time. And so I think this might, we might be a little hesitant, but I think in the long term, this is going to be better, maybe lower some healthcare cost, not only to taxpayers, but to those who visit the hospitals and pay health insurance, benefits and all that sort of thing. So this is, and I know, Bob, you have been a member of the Health Agency Board for a long time. How many years? How many years?
Oh, I think it's around 40.
Yeah. So so this is historical, I think, in my opinion, for Shawnee County.
Well,
So
to borrow the words of one of our fine commissioners, it's a big deal.
it's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
It is.
But
But it's a little scary too, I
It
think,
is.
as those who visit, the clinic, and we take very good care of them. But know that that's first and foremost when I look at considering some of these changes. And I hope, I know with the assistance of the project manager, that this transition hopefully can go smoothly, and that our patients don't see huge changes,
And I think it's important to note that, we're continuing business as usual. I mean,
Exactly.
we are still providing services both at the Shawnee County Health Agency and at Marion Clinic as we look at, what is our service delivery model going to become. There are many, many unanswered questions at this point, both for staff and for the patients that we
Right.
serve. But
Right.
the most important thing is we still continue to be here to provide that health care
Right.
for them.
And oftentimes, I know, we have the community health center, and then we have public health, and Allison and Alice, the A's, the A team. But this would impact the community health center, not the public health side of it. So I want to make sure that the community understands that, because it is confusing.
Very.
So, yeah. Anyway.
Commissioner, if I may.
Oh, Commissioner Cook.
Commissioner Wheeler, I appreciate all of your concerns. I know this is something that you've been working on and looking at for a number of years. And I appreciate the comment about the cost, but, so many times as we sit at this table, we talk about the cost of business. And my takeaway from the Safety Net Summit report was less about cost and more about access. And how do we as a community provide a better access model?
Mhm.
And I think that that's really what I'm excited about. And, cost, I think, is always on our mind, but we have to look at how can we provide better access to those who don't have access to health care.
Mhm.
And not to put anybody on the spot, but I don't know if any of the other representatives from our safety net group have any comments they want to share. Okay, guess not, which is okay. There'll be lots of opportunities to convey information over the coming months.
Was there a motion? It's been a while.
I'll move to approve the letter.
I second.
Motion made by Commissioner Bueller, seconded by Commissioner Cook to approve the letter. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Alice.
Thank
Next
you.
item, please.
Item E2, consider authorization and execution of contract C-199-2014 with Stormont Vale Healthcare, Inc. for lease of the building at 1615 Southwest 8th Street for the health agency for a period commencing on June 14th, 2014, and continuing for a term of 1 year unless earlier terminated for an annual rental amount of $243,969.50.
Move approval of the contract.
I would second, but I'm going just to note that this is a expense that I think that we could easily be criticized for, and that we knew that our time was coming short. But given the Safety Net Summit report, given that we want to look at that better access, I think that it was necessary for us to look at how our next step, and so I'm going to second the contract.
Motion made by Commissioner Bueller to approve the contract, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item 5, Administrative Communications.
Well,
Commissioner Bueller.
as HR Cook is walking up here, I don't know what you're going to say, but yeah.
We never know.
Well, HR and his staff did an excellent job this weekend. I cannot imagine the amount of time that you all put in, all the way from the First Lady's visit to the number of graduations that were held, and not an incident that I'm aware of, or that I've heard of or received an email on. So, nice job, very nice job.
Thank you very
Well
much.
done.
I hope
Well
I pass
done.
that along to the staff. I'm merely just the straw that stirs the drink, so they do all the work. HR Cook, Kansas Expo Center, yes, to give you just a brief update on the First Lady's visit. It did go very well, and I wanted to publicly thank Public Works for their hard work in the parking lot, getting it patched, and John Knight and his staff regarding the grounds and getting it ready. It was a monumental task. 501 was very pleased with her visit, and I did receive an email Saturday morning from the White House saying, as far as large visits regarding the First Lady, this was probably one of the smoothest that they had. According to the Secret Service, we had 6,400 people come through the magnetometers.
Wow.
There were no issues whatsoever. The students were riveted, regardless of your political affiliation. The students were riveted on the First Lady's speech, and I'm pretty sure they will remember who spoke at their high school graduation. So, but yeah, I wanted to thank the various departments and also the Sheriff's Department for their hard work as far as some traffic control issues that we had. But it went flawlessly, and I thank the County Commission and City of Topeka and 501 for allowing us to present the building in a manner that everybody can be proud of. So, thank you.
And thank you, HR. And I think it's important to note how this highlights what an asset the Expo Center is for our community. It is an aging asset. Some would argue it's an obsolete asset, but it is an asset to our community like no other. So as we're discussing things and investments in our community, let's always keep the Expo Center in mind.
Absolutely, Commissioner, and being the only multi-purpose mass gathering facility in Northeast Kansas,
Yeah,
Yep.
that's it.
she wouldn't be here if it weren't for the Expo Center. And of course, we had 30,000 people come through the doors this weekend for the commencement exercises.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
but thank you.
Thank you again, HR. Any other administrative communications?
Commissioner?
Yes, Commissioner Cook.
I know that she's not in the commission chambers right now, but I'm sure she's listening right around the corner. I just wanted to publicly congratulate Stephanie Mott on her graduation from Washburn University. She's a great asset to our office and a great addition to the county. I know that she's helped me on different projects through my term here, and I'm very proud of her being able to graduate from Washburn University. Had the opportunity to attend that ceremony on Saturday.
Yeah, I'll add bravo to that.
Exactly.
Well done.
Yeah. The only other thing I had was that I had the opportunity to attend where's Dusty? Yeah. Unnecessary Farce at Helen Hawker Theater, and Dusty and Marilyn Nichols. It was hilarious. I mean, it was just, for those of you who missed it, you missed a good laugh, and the time went so quickly, but they did a great job.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Item 6, executive sessions.
There is a need for an executive session to discuss non-elected personnel and bargaining agreement negotiations. Let's add attorney-client. Anything else, Commissioner, that you want to add?
Well, if we're gonna, might as well throw in real property since we have all four.
Real property that cover all four, so, not for a period to extend past 20 minutes, no action anticipated. And I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion made to go into executive session by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. We're in executive session. We're back in session, no action required, and we are adjourned. Hi. Well, let me get this stuff signed.
Thanks, how are you doing? Yeah? Kind of a crazy time.
It's not a good idea to have them scheduled so early.
About what?